Shaky, well, everybody on the USS Sea Dog had a nickname. Our commanding officer at the time was Shanefield. His nickname was Shaky. And the executive officer was named Jordan, and his nickname was Jittery. I had a nickname too. I was a supply officer, and I spent the Navy's money just like I spent my own money, which meant that I didn't waste any money. My nickname was Economical Ernie. The way Shaky got his name was because he had a twitch that was uncontrollable. Well, maybe it was controllable because sometimes he could control it, but anyway, it was very noticeable that the crew made fun of him and the officers made fun of him, and we never did stand up for him like we should have, kind of like the King Mutiny. But anyway, this twitch that he had would be noticeable if we were making a torpedo run, and he would be making the run, and he would be using the periscope. If he had both hands on the periscope and he felt a twitch coming on, his eye would turn from the periscope. If he had his eye in the periscope and wouldn't let his head move, then his hand would fly over off of the periscope. So that's how he got his name, Shaky. The other things to show how the morale on the ship was not as good as it could be, the chief of the watch, every time they would relieve the watch, they had 2 steel balls, and the chief would, I'll relieve you, and they would pass the steel balls from one chief to the other. And we knew this was going on, and he didn't know what was going on, and we shouldn't have let it go, but anyway it did. Another way that a twitch would be that he would display, sometime we would be down submerged 50 feet, we'd be at the wardrobe. In the wardrobe we had a radio receiver right behind where the captain sat, and he would be sitting at the wardrobe and feel a twitch coming on, and he'd turn around and tune in the radio. 50 feet, there's no radio signal, but anyway, that's how one of the twitches would be, that he would display his twitch. Another way that, well, this was really sad, he would be leaving the ship, and the crew would be there, and of course, officers, we would see this going on. We never did anything about it, but he would be leaving the ship, and the crew would be making bets on how many times he would check his shoe to see if he stepped in something soft on the way to the end of the pier. And he would just be walking along, and he would just lift up his foot to look at it, just one of his twitches. But we thought it needed to be brought to the attention of the doctor. We had this captain with a twitch. So the doctor came out to ride the submarine with us one day, all day long. He never had a twitch. So I know he could control it, but when we tied up and the doctor left the ship, he went through the whole repertoire in 5 minutes after the doctor left the ship. So we know he could control it, but anyway, nothing ever happened. We never did fail to meet our mission, but the morale was very low because his leadership ability wasn't all that great. For example, I was his favorite officer. The reason I know I was his favorite officer is because he only threatened me with a court-martial once. Everybody else more than once. And I was, I said I was a supply officer, and he told me to requisition him some foul weather gear. So I submitted a routine request for foul weather gear and put it in the mail. We were in Guantanamo at the time, and so in a week or two, we'd get the requisition filled and we'd get the material back on the ship. And so we were getting on the way the next day after he asked me to get the foul weather gear. And I had the anchor detail. I was on the forecastle of the submarine, and it was raining, and he sent for the steward's mate to bring him his rain gear. And he brought him the rain gear, and he looked at the coat, and it wasn't stencil captain. So he wadded it up and threw it on the deck and stepped on it and sent for me to come to the bridge immediately. So I went to the bridge immediately and said, Captain, you sent for me? He says, yeah, where's my rain gear? I said, well, I submitted a requisition for it. It'll be here in a week. He says, when I ask you to get rain gear, I don't mean for you to just put it in the routine mail. I meant for you to walk through and get my rain gear. And it's raining now, and I don't have any rain gear. He's standing there, the rain's coming down, and he's standing on his rain gear. Would not put it on.
And Daddy, tell him, what date was all this? We got to do the date.
Yeah.
Let's see, I was on the Sea Dog from 65, no, I can't remember the date.
Okay, but it's a
Let's
long...
see, I was on the Sea Dog, after I got out of the Naval Academy, I was on the Saipan for 1 year, the Missouri for 2 years, so 3 years out of the Naval Academy, 49 plus 3, 52. 52.
Okay.